Hey guys, this is Abhishek from GadgetStudios.com, and today we are going to do the quick comparison of the LG G2 with Samsung Galaxy S5. LG G2 is again an older generation phone as compared to Samsung Galaxy S5, which is the latest generation flagship from Samsung, and again this device is available in the Indian market for a price of approximately 50,000 rupees. However, you can actually buy it for around 45 to 46,000 rupees at the right price, at the right bargain price from eBay and online retail stores as well. Now if you talk about the LG G2, it is already available for a price of 42 and 38. You can actually get in this particular price segment in terms of the price you will have to pay in terms of Indian rupees. So talking about both of these phones are fairly good in terms of specifications. However, the Samsung Galaxy S5 is a little bit an upgrade over the LG G2, whereas the LG G2 is an older generation phone, but still the LG G2 comes very close to Samsung Galaxy S5 in terms of the overall form factor, in terms of the overall performance. There is no problem with this device, although this one is running with the Snapdragon 800 chipset, whereas this one right now should be running with Snapdragon 801 chipset, but this is the Indian version of Samsung Galaxy S5, so it is different, so the performance is different as well. So in all, I would like to say both of these phones come very close to each other in terms of the overall performance, and none of them is actually bad. So we are going to tell you the major differences in between these two in case you are considering a smartphone as of now, which one you should choose and why you should choose that. And again, when we talk about the display is pretty good on both of these phones. When we take a look over the LG G2, it is right now available in the 4G variant as well for a price of approximately 42,000 rupees in the market, whereas the Samsung Galaxy S5, the 4G version is not available. So in this case, this one is on the lead. Even when it is an older phone, this one is available in the 4G version as compared to the Samsung Galaxy S5, which is still 3G capable only. Samsung has not released the 4G version of Samsung Galaxy S5 in India. And again, Samsung Galaxy S5 in India is not the Snapdragon 801 chipset, it is the Exynos chipset from Samsung. So again, hardware wise it is not too good as well. Comparing it with this one, hardware wise is again, hardware is good on both of these phones, but I would say the hardware is slightly better on this one if you compare it with the Exynos chipset of the Samsung, in which there are two quad-core processors working together. Samsung call it a true octa-core, and I would say it is not. So it is not an octa-core phone, and octa-core phones actually does not behave in this way. I have tested this one in terms of the overall day-to-day performance and usage. So I would say on the performance front as well, this device is much more snappy. There is no lag I would face on this device while using it on one day-to-day usage, whereas this device has become much faster as well with the new TouchWiz UI, which has become flat in terms of the overall icons, and the colors are kind of subtle. Every animation on this device is kind of smooth and lag free now, which I can say on the Samsung Galaxy S5, because the TouchWiz UI has been enhanced and it has been tuned properly with the hardware. That is something I can say. So talking about the weight of these two phones, the LG G2 is around 143 gram, whereas the Samsung Galaxy S5 is 145 gram, fairly close to each other. The display size on this one is 5.1 inch, whereas this one is 5.2 inch. If you actually compare both of these phones on the display scenario, you can actually barely notice the difference in between the display size. Both of them almost have the same display size. And again, in terms of the size, if we take a look, the size of the Samsung Galaxy S5 is slightly bigger because of the thicker bezel as compared to the LG G2. And again, when we talk about thickness, the thickness of these two devices is again not very high. The thickness of LG G2 is around 8.9 millimeter, whereas the thickness of Samsung Galaxy S5 is 8.1 millimeter. In this department, the Samsung Galaxy S5 is slightly thinner, but taking a look over these two phones from side angles, you can say both of them are almost the same in terms of the thickness. There is not major difference in between these two phones. One thing which is different on the Samsung Galaxy S5, which is actually an added advantage, is that you get a IP67 certification, and then this device can actually work inside water. The camera can actually work inside water as well, whereas on LG G2 you do not have that kind of certification. However, the LG G3 will definitely have that kind of certification. That is something, as far as the news which is coming, as far as the sources which tell us that LG G3 will have the water certification. That means you can actually use the LG G3 inside water as well, whereas the Samsung Galaxy S5 has also got it. So Samsung Galaxy S5 also have some additional sensors, which includes the fingerprint sensor, which is there, and you have a heart rate sensor. Again, LG G2 you do not find any of these two sensors, and these two sensors are good enough, but again in day-to-day usage they do not make much of a difference in terms of the overall performance or in terms of the overall usage scenarios, I would say. So again, they are kind of marketing gimmick. Again, the fingerprint sensor on the Samsung Galaxy S5 does not work accurately all the times. It is kind of laggy, and again, if you try 10 times, only 2 times it will get unlocked, and 8 times it will be annoying and it will not work. So when we talk about the LG G2 in terms of the display is Corning Gorilla Glass 2, whereas we have Corning Gorilla Glass 3 over here. So again, this is an older generation device, so we cannot expect the same thing on both of these phones. But again, in terms of the overall performance and the kind of form factor it has, it comes very close to Samsung Galaxy S3, and I would say this is a much better handy phone. Again, both of these phones are plastic phone. The plastic back cover on the Samsung Galaxy S5 can be removed, however it cannot be removed on the LG G2, and again the battery can be removed. But both of these phones are plastic phone, pretty good quality of plastic which has been used on both of these phones, I would say. But again, LG G2 is slightly better in the kind of plastic material which has been used, or the polycarbonate material which has been used. Talking about the display resolution, the display resolution is Full HD on both of these phones, and you get almost the same pixel density. Very minimal differences there as far as pixel density is concerned. When we talk about the surround sound technology, you do have Dolby surround sound enhancement on this device, whereas you do not have it on this one. When we talk about the storage scenario, both of these phones come in 16GB variant as well as in 32GB variant. However, the Samsung Galaxy S5 is only available in 16GB variant as of now in the Indian market. You have around 2GB of RAM on both of these phones, so RAM is again the same. When we talk about the camera is 13 megapixel over here, and the camera on Samsung Galaxy S5 is 16 megapixel camera. So that is one difference which we have on the Samsung Galaxy S5. And again, if we take a look over the camera performance on both of these phones, the camera on LG G2 performs really good. It has optical image stabilization as well, which is a very good thing, whereas you do not have it on the Samsung Galaxy S5. So in terms of camera performance, they are actually very close to each other. Even when it is a 13 megapixel camera, it is a 16 megapixel camera. The 16 megapixel camera on this device is quite fast. The UI has become much better. You have got selective focus, fast autofocus is also there. So camera wise, both of these devices actually come very close to each other. But still, I would say the camera is good enough on LG G2 as well, even when it is an older phone as compared to the Samsung Galaxy S5. Now, if we talk about the other things of the device, if we take a look over the front camera, the front camera is however different. The front camera on LG G2 is a 2 megapixel camera, whereas we have a 2.1 megapixel camera on the Samsung Galaxy S5, and both of these front camera can actually record high definition video. The rear can also record high definition video on these two devices. When we talk about the GPU remains the same on both of these phones. You have Adreno 330 GPU on this one, you have Adreno 330 GPU on this one, and both of these phones are equally good in terms of the overall gaming performance. So you can play almost any kind of high definition games on any of these two phones. When we talk about the international version of Samsung Galaxy S5, it is 2.5 gigahertz, carry at 400 core Snapdragon 801 chipset, which is a better chipset, but the Indian version is not that good. The Indian version is the Exynos chipset, and it heats up a lot. That is something I can say, but again, it is not very comfortable in terms of the heating scenario. You can actually hold it even when it is heated up, so in that ways it is okay to use. When we talk about the processor which we have on LG G2, it is a 2.26 gigahertz carry at 400 core Snapdragon 800 chipset, which is the older version of the chipset, which is again okay, not bad. It also heats up, but again not very uncomfortable to hold. So in that particular department, when it comes to the performance, both of them actually come very close to each other. In day-to-day performance, there is no difference on any of these two phones. You can use any of these two phones without any lag in the UI or any problem. Without facing any problem, you can use these phones in day-to-day usage for any kind of usage scenario. When we talk about the battery is still better on the LG G2, even when it is an older phone. It has a 3000 milliampere hour battery, whereas this one has a 2800 milliampere hour battery. Again, Samsung have decreased the battery size on this one, so even when it is a newer generation phone, we were expecting at least it will have 3000 milliampere hour battery, whereas the LG G2, which is an older phone, has a bigger battery than this one. However, the battery cannot be removed on this one, whereas the battery can be removed and replaced on Samsung Galaxy S5. Now both of these phones are fairly good. The display is good enough. The display viewing angles are also pretty good on both of these phones. As you can see, you can view them from extreme angles without any issues. Let me just take a photo as of now from both of these phones to show you the overall performance of these two devices in terms of the camera. So I will take the photo in low light as well as in basically we are taking this photo in low light only, and we will take this photo in artificial light and without artificial light. Right now we have an artificial light, and let me just focus. So it has taken the photo. Let me just turn off the artificial light, and now let me just take the photo. So let me just take the photo again. So I have taken the photo again, and let me just take the same photo scenario. In this case for LG G2 as well. Let me just take the photo from this device as well. Sorry. So let me just focus over here. Okay. So this is the first photo which we have taken, and the other one we will take without the artificial light. And let me just do this again. Okay, so we have taken the photo from both of these phones, and let me just compare these photos together. So we have two photos over here on the Samsung Galaxy S5 and the LG G2. Let me just go to this one, and let me just enable rotation so that it shows me the photo in the landscape mode. So now we have the photo on both of these phones, as you can see. Let me just go over here. So the photo which we have taken without light or without artificial light, I would say, is slightly better on this one, as you can see on Samsung Galaxy S5 in the camera. So it is pretty good, I would say, in terms of the overall colors as well as in terms of the details. It is looking good. However, this one is looking kind of dark. I would say the white is better on this one, whereas the white is not that great on this one. And when we have taken it with light, this is how it looks like. So with light, it has given us a much better result on LG G2 on the camera department, at least. If we compare both of these devices on the camera department, this one is the photo. Okay, this is the one which we have taken with light. So now, as of now, if I compare both of these, the more natural photo is this one, whereas this one is slightly saturated kind of a photo. The colors are slightly oversaturated on this one, whereas this one is looking good. But again, I would say both of these phones have actually performed pretty good in this particular department. When we have proper amount of light or artificial light, the photo will come out to be pretty good on both of these phones. So this one is again better, I would say, slightly better as compared to this one. The amount of details which I see in both of these photos is fairly good for both of these phones. So camera performance is definitely decent on LG G2. Again, it is not that great. Samsung S5 actually has slightly better camera with a fast sensor and with a fast UI and a better sensor, whereas the LG G2 also performs pretty good even when it is an older phone. So LG G2 already competes very good with the Samsung Galaxy S5 in overall scenarios. I would say in terms of build quality it is good, in terms of battery it is better, in terms of camera it is very close, in terms of the overall form factor this phone is much better, handy phone. Basically you can hold this phone much easier as compared to Samsung Galaxy S5, whereas the Samsung Galaxy S5 is slightly bigger, but again this one is also handy. So talking about other things of the phone, the camera is good enough on both of these phones. The UI is smooth on both of these phones, even when it is running on the old UI. The LG UI on LG G3 will be much subtle. It will be like this one, much faster. But again with this UI, which is the older generation of LG UI, which is running on G2, it is quite fast and fast enough to actually use it on the day-to-day usage. So I would say both of these phones are good enough, but LG G2 being an older phone is pretty good in major departments like battery. Form factor is good. The weight of the device is again almost the same as Samsung Galaxy S5, and again we don't know about the weight of the LG G3. So even right now LG G2 come very close to Samsung Galaxy S5, and some of the scenarios it does win as well. So LG G3 will be definitely better than Samsung Galaxy S5. That is something which we can say, at least we can assume that, if we cannot say that directly, but I can assume that to a great extent. So that's all from us as far as the quick hands-on comparison of the LG G2 and the Samsung Galaxy S5. Do let me know if you have any specific question for any of these two devices. We would love to help you. You can like this video if this video helped you by clicking clicking the like button below. You can subscribe to our YouTube video channel for more videos like this by clicking the subscribe button below. Thanks for watching this video. This is Abhishek signing off. Thank you.